Raffaello Sanzo di Urbino, the Prince of Painters, and otherwise known as Raphael, was born on April 6, 1483, to Italian painter Gianti. Santi was a court painter to the Duke of Urbino, giving Raphael the opportunity to be brought up in Urbino's court life, which was also Urbino's intellectual and cultural center. There is dispute over exactly how Raphael began painting, and exactly whom the master was that began the education. There are arguments that his father had placed him in the workshop of Pietro Perugino. However, at 8 years old, it's highly unlikely that he'd already have an apprenticeship. While Raphael himself was called a master by December of 1500, he never ceased learning. The nomadic lifestyle he led aided his exposure to many masters around Italy. Raphael was a leading figure during Italy's high Renaissance period and a member of the traditional trinity of great masters of that period. This trinity included his contemporaries Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. And it wasn't until the year 1514 when Bramante, the architect of New St. Peter's, died that Raphael became a major name within the architectural world. It was thanks to this appointment from the Pope that Raphael became one of the most important architects in Rome. His reputation grew exponentially. Admired for the clarity of form, ease of composition, and visual achievement of the Neoplatonic ideal of human grandeur, he was mostly known for his collaborative printmaking. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Raphael's more serene and harmonious qualities were regarded as the highest models. A major impact on society was Raphael's workshop, the largest ever assembled under one master painter. So dedicated to cultivating the artists within his workshop, Raphael left much of his work and possessions to two particular pupils who continued his workshop after his death. Raphael's accomplishments affect our everyday life because they became the cornerstone of training for the academies of art. It was also his movement toward Mannerism that changed the painting styles of what was Italy's impending Baroque period. An interesting influence Raphael has had on the modern world would be the fact that he was one of the finest draftsmen in the history of Western art. He used drawings extensively to plan his compositions. This was also translated into the way he created his architecture. Now, I chose 5 pieces of art from Raphael's vast collection to discuss, so let's start with number 1, Triumph of Galatea. It was done between 1512 and 1514, and it's considered a fresco. This fresco was a mythological scene, part of a series for the open gallery of the Villa Farnesina in Rome, which had been built for Sienese banker Agostino Chigi. The model for Galatea was never meant to resemble any single person. It was meant to be a represented ideal of beauty, a beauty he had formed in his mind. Speaking of beauty, our number 2 piece of art is La Donna Volata, otherwise known as the Woman with the Veil. Done between 1514 and 1515, it's an oil on canvas. It's a demure painting of Margherita Luti, a baker's daughter as well as Raphael's mistress. This particular painting is so very beautiful, it is quite easy to see why Raphael used her to create many of his Madonnas. The way Raphael painted her for this portrait was as if she were from a very opulent family. There was even a placement of a pear in her hair, a sign of opulence during that period. It's a classic style portrait. This is in direct contrast to his later work of Margherita, which brings us to number 3, La Fornarina, also known as Portrait of a Young Woman. It was done between 1518 and 1519. This one is oil on wood. Just a few years later, and our view of Margherita is quite different than the chaste young woman she is portrayed as in La Donna Volata. Both images have her posed the same way, with her right hand over her left breast / the center of her chest. This could easily be an indication and subtle nod to the love they shared despite his engagement to Maria Bibbiena, Cardinal Medici Bibbiana's niece. La Fornarina is one of more intimate quality as the two became further involved. Their love affair was very well known. La Fornarina also has indicators of their deep bond and potentially hidden marriage. On her left hand is the small ring and the band on her left bicep with Raphael's name on it. Raphael's love for her was so deep that he held off his own marriage to his fiancée to the point that she died unwed. On a happier note, we come to number 4, Transfiguration. This was done between 1516 and 1520, and it's tempera on wood. This piece was commissioned by Cardinal Giulio de' Medici as an altarpiece for Narbonne Cathedral in France. This particular piece can be both Mannerism and Baroque, which would have been considered a triumph since he also incorporated chiaroscuro in the painting. It's a dichotomy. The redemptive power of Christ contrasted with the flaws of man. What is unflawed would be number 5, Villa Madama. Started 1518 and completed after his death in 1525. A renowned artist and very gifted and known architect, Raphael designed the Villa Madama as a lavish hillside retreat for Cardinal Giulio de' Medici, the same man who commissioned Transfiguration. Never finished by Raphael, the final construction plans were completed by Antonio da Sangallo the Younger. It was the most sophisticated villa design yet to be seen in Italy. This was greatly influential for subsequent architects of the High Renaissance. For me to explain the personal connection I have to Raphael, perhaps we should start at the beginning, to understand where my train of thought originated. We started out this quarter talking about the canon of creativity as well as kitsch versus couture. I already knew these terms. Art history courses had taught them to me, but what was interesting is how my earliest adventures to places such as MoMA and the Met exposed me to this world long before school could. Growing up a city kid to a single mother, my weekends became engrossed with museums and galleries because I needed to become a well-rounded man, as she liked to say. My appreciation for high art started in elementary school as a child, holding her hand as we walked through the Met. Being exposed to classic pieces of art built up a love affair that, to this day, has not been extinguished. I cannot express how those beautiful pieces motivated me to build my portfolio for a high school and college. Exhilaration, awe, wonderment, these are the feelings that flooded through me when looking at the pieces. The paintings were the strongest inspirations of creativity for me. Paintings by Degas, Picasso, Caravaggio, Watteau, Kandinsky, Pollock, Homer, Van Gogh, Renoir, Rembrandt. The list is endless. However, it was the piece Madonna and Child Enthroned with Saints where I was first introduced to Raphael. It was because of that piece and memory why I chose him for this project. An artist that is one of the masters but not often spoken of in the same way that Leonardo and Michelangelo are, despite being part of that Holy Trinity, of course made him the underdog. I guess you can say this is where my thinking outside of the box comes into play. Going off the beaten path was the best route taken. It is the seed of curiosity that allows my creativity to grow. It is the nucleus at the center of my atom. I want to keep being different and not following the herd. I prefer to play devil's advocate to stir up a debate. I want to keep challenging everything and keeping people thinking much like Raphael did. Einstein's quote is most apropos. I have no special talents, I am only passionately curious. It's the power of the curious mind that has made us who we are today. A life without curiosity is simply boring.